This is TWiT. Now, this is a fun one. Evidently, Microsoft is having a little bit of a growing pains issue at their campus, and they're going to tear part of it down to rebuild. Who's got this story?
I can give you the basics on it. So Microsoft's shareholders meeting was today, and one of the announcements they made in conjunction with that is the renovation of their campus. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar effort that's going to take probably 5 to 7 years. So if you've ever been to the Microsoft campus, it's this big, sprawling, kind of older-looking thing. Like the new buildings are very modern, but the original buildings that are shaped like X's, like buildings, I think 1 through 10, very old. Very easy to get lost because every floor looks identical. I've been lost in there a few times. And so what they're going to do is take where those buildings 1 through 10 are, and they're going to raise them completely and build a bunch of new buildings in there. They're going to build a bridge connecting their campus, west side and the east side. They're doing a whole lot of different things. They're even going to build a light rail stop right near the Microsoft campus, which is going to be amazing. Right now, when I go to the Microsoft campus from Seattle, the way I go is I take the 545 bus. And the reason I do that is, which Paul will get into more, the driving there is pretty horrible. Yeah. And
oh my God. Yeah.
When they finally extend light rail over to that side, the east side, and have this stop, this is going to be fantastic. There's going to be all kinds of stores. There's even going to be this big open air plaza where 12,000 people can come and meet and like watch presentations on a big screen. So it's a very big makeover. They're making it very bike friendly. Part of the campus won't even be accessible to cars. All the parking lots are going underground. So if you've been to the Microsoft campus ever, I think they're saying by 2023, when this is fully implemented, they hope, it's going to look very different from how it looks now.
Which is sad the way.
The one part I wonder about is Lake Bill in the old part of the campus.
Like there's some they'll definitely retain that.
I would think they would, right?
Yeah.
But there's like a couple of people said like, oh, those old buildings, yeah, they were old, but it's like kind of historical too.
They're also historic in a way, yeah. They're kind of cross-shaped and awkward layouts.
Yep.
I mean, they were industrial. It was an industrial time. They were making a headquarters. It makes sense. And yes, they are historical because it's Microsoft, but they're not great buildings.
No, they're not. But they're I don't know. They're quirky and fun. The issue is that when they were built, the zoning codes or whatever in Redmond specified they can only be so high, and so they're not very tall. They're like 2 stories, I think. And now some of the newer buildings are 3 or 4 stories. That's about it. It's as high as you can go. So it leads to its own kind of sprawl. Microsoft's campus is really a set of campuses now, right? Because they have additional campuses in the area like Red West and Millennium and so forth. And, you shuttle bus between them, and Mary Jo's gotten into some shenanigans doing that, as I recall.
What?
But you can see here, and they're split by the 520 there. The highway that you see going in the middle splits the 2 sides of the main campus. But yeah, the big issue there is traffic. And I've approached the Redmond campus from every conceivable direction. I stay with friends. I have been doing this for 15, 18 years, whatever. These guys at different times have lived in Seattle, north of Seattle, south of Seattle, Redmond, Bellevue, I mean, everywhere. And, someone who works at Microsoft, it must be a nightmare, but even me, just kind of short term, you have to kind of plot out the day, because if you don't leave for work at a certain time,
right,
or if you don't get out of the office by a certain time, you're stuck where you are. And you literally are going to wait hours to get out of there. They did construction on the 520 floating bridge, which is much nicer, but, still kind of a,
bottleneck.
Sorry. Bottleneck. Thank you. And it's just, it's tough. They're going to bring in 8,000 additional employees, I know. And so hopefully over time with the trains, the trams or whatever, this won't be as bad, but I just don't see an end to the gridlock there. Not to mention the high prices with real estate, the general congestion of the area. It's such a pretty place, and it's just been overrun with Microsoft people. Who have a lot of money, generally speaking, and they've kind of pushed out, a lot of the people who might have lived there otherwise. So I hope there's some plan for that stuff.
Yeah, right now there's 47,000 employees who work in the Redmond area. They're going to add 8,000 to that.
Yeah, it's a big number for that.
It is.
That's a big jump.
It's a medium-sized city that commutes to that area every day. There's
a lot to this story, by the way. There's a lot of goofy. If you think about Seattle is the main city in the area and always kind of has been. Typically, the commute works that people live out in the suburbs and they drive into the city. And in Seattle's case, that means you drive west from the suburbs that are on the east side of Lake Washington, Bellevue, Redmond, whatever. But Microsoft happened. And all of a sudden, the commutes were happening in the opposite direction. And the infrastructure was not set up for this, nor was it set up for the size of the population. And so Bellevue has turned into a city in its own right. It's got great restaurants. It's kind of a neat place now. Bellevue was always kind of a nothing place. But thanks to Microsoft, largely, I would say, now it's kind of a destination. But there's just a real sprawl that occurs there. And it's tough because throughout my life, I've been going out there for 22 years. Mary Jo's been going out there probably a lot longer than that. I like it there a lot. You lived out there. And I could imagine living out there, except, the high prices and the congestion. I mean, it makes it kind of untenable. I want to get in my car and go someplace, not get in my car and listen to this podcast, or whatever. I don't know.
And, for me, the biggest regret is I've watched Microsoft build out their campus over the years. Like when I moved to Seattle, it was 1991, I think. And it was a fairly manageable size. Right now, the Microsoft campus is 125 different buildings. And if you've ever been there, it's not like they've added some more maps and more directional signs inside the campus, but there used to be none. And you'd have to know, like, the buildings that were consecutively numbered weren't next to each other. You had to have kind of a mental map of how
some
this
buildings
worked.
Don't exist.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, like, when I see this diagram of how they're going to redo it, I'm thinking, wow, like all that mental map, all those mental maps I have in my head are going to be obsolete, basically.
and they've done a lot of construction over the years. I don't remember all the building numbers, but I remember when I almost got killed at the Microsoft campus due to some construction stuff. They were building Building 33, which is where the Windows team moved into, and they moved. I don't remember where they moved from 12 or something. One of the triangle or cross buildings, but. All the construction, there's no parking in this place to save your life. There's nothing there. And during construction, there was nothing. There was no parking. So I was picking someone up from Microsoft and I pulled into the parking lot. There was no parking spaces, obviously. So I pulled over to the side next to some construction stuff. There was a huge storm going on at the time. And I don't remember what caused this exactly. I don't know it was a long time ago. So I don't know if he called me on the phone or whatever it was, but I moved forward 10 feet. And as I did, a gigantic, like not a redwood, but one of those huge trees they have there, came crashing down exactly where my car had been sitting as part of the storm. It was an enormous tree. It would have destroyed the car and probably me in it, depending on where it hit it. And I literally saw this thing happen in my rearview mirror. Like it made it was like a Jurassic Park sound, behind me. And it was because of the construction. So good stuff.
I just want to throw something in here. This, by the way, Alex, if you go to my computer, when they're building the Apple campus, they were saying how, it's the largest headquarters in the world now. It's this. Mm-hmm. This is the same scale. This is the Boeing headquarters.
Yeah.
So neither Apple nor Microsoft are going to have the largest. They don't have bragging rights, but sure. Large campuses are fun all by themselves. Actually, Boeing has a transit system inside the campus.
Yeah, it's like Disney World.
Look at Amazon, right? Amazon's going to build headquarters too because they don't have room anymore in Seattle.
That's another part of the story, right? Because Microsoft kind of, it's like, this doesn't have anything to do with Amazon. Just kidding. They're like, we think one headquarters is enough, right? A little jab at Amazon. Amazon throw out their little offer to the world. We're looking for tax cuts. Who can do the best job? And Amazon's going to go someplace. I think it might be outside of Denver. I think is one of the big choices. It could be somewhere in Canada, whatever. It doesn't matter. But they're going to destroy that place, right? So if you want to see what the next Redmond is, look at whatever poor little town in Colorado, wherever it is that Amazon heads to, because this is what's going to happen to it.
Right.